friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany, where I have new videos every week about books and the geeky mom lifestyle. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my September TBR. Who can believe it's about to be September already? I feel like this year has been the longest and fastest at the same time. We are headed into September. I've got a lot of exciting books to read, some of which are a secret. I also have kind of a lot of NetGalley arcs to read. Who's surprised? Nobody probably should be. As always, these TBRs are tentative. I like to have something to work from, but sometimes I'm a little bit more of a mood reader. So I always prioritize the books for Patreon and books that I've agreed to review, and then everything else is kind of like, we'll see how it goes. With that said, the first book on my TBR is the book club pick for Patreon Book Club. Every month my patrons get to vote on a book that we will read together and chat about in a live show at the end of the month, and every month we do a different genre. So for September, with it being back to school, it seemed appropriate to do a classic, and the classic novel that was voted as the winner is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I am really excited about this. I grew up watching the movie from like 1995 with Hugh Grant in it, and I really love the film, which we're also going to be doing a watch party, which I'm super excited for. But I'm not sure that I've ever actually read the entire book. I think I started it, maybe I read it once when I was a teenager, but I don't have strong memories of that reading experience. I feel like I at least read part of it at some point, but we are doing it. We're reading Sense and Sensibility. I am very excited for it, so I think it's going to be a good time. And then get ready, because of course in October we will be doing a horror novel. So more to come on that in next month's TBR. And if you're ever interested in seeing what the book club picks are, I always have that information linked in the video description down below. And we've started going a month ahead in terms of voting, so you can see what the current month and the following month's book club picks are going to be if you want to follow along. As always, huge thanks to my patrons. Your support means so much to me and allows me to do things that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do. A special shout out goes out to my patrons at the new release hardcover level and above, currently including Trina from Bookish Trina, Ashley from Books with Ashley, Jillian from Jillian's Book Chatter, Lori from Lori's Book Trials, Maggie from Stormy Reads a Lot, and most recently, Teresa Marie from That Gemini Reader. Thank you so much to all of my patrons for your support. Every month my patrons are also entered into a raffle, and the winner gets to select a book that they want to see me read and review in the coming month. For September, the winner was Teresa Marie, and I'm actually pretty excited. The book that she wanted to see me read is The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This was actually one of my Book of the Month Club picks for August. This is one of my Book of the Month Club picks for August, and I'm excited to have a reason to read it so soon. It's a debut adult sci-fi novel by a Black author that I have seen some reviews of that look really, really interesting. It has a multiverse setup, which some of you might know, time travel and multiverse stuff in sci-fi is usually not my go-to trope. It's very hit or miss for me. But based on reviews, I think this one is going to be a hit because it's using the multiverse trope as ways of talking about issues of privilege and class and racism, which sounds very, very interesting to me. So this is set in a world where multiverse travel is possible, but people can only travel to a parallel universe where their parallel self is dead because you can't meet yourself in other universes. And so the main character is a young Black woman who has been hired to do things, I don't know the details, but has been hired to travel to all of these different multiverses on missions, and she's a good candidate because she is able to travel to many of them because her alternate selves are dead in many of these multiverses. Now what's interesting about this is she's a young Black woman who's grown up in a poor area, and so this really gets into issues of privilege and identity and why she's the person who's able to do all of this multiverse travel, which I think is a very interesting take on this, so I am really excited to pick this one up in September. I also have these 4 books going on my TBR, which are kind of a secret. They were sent to me by my friend Mara over Books Like Whoa for a collab video where we pick each other's TBR. So I sent her 4 books, she sent me 4 books, and we're both vlogging reading those books. So 4 books from that project are going on my TBR, and you will be getting that video probably late in the month, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think she had some interesting choices. Then I have 3 physical arcs that I want to get to this month. First up, I have Each of Us a Desert by Marco Shiro. I was a huge fan of Anger is the Gift, which was Marco Shiro's debut novel a couple years ago, and I'm so happy more people are finally discovering it and picking it up. Each of Us a Desert is their first fantasy novel, and I am so excited for it. There's not a whole lot of information in terms of the description, but I'm kind of okay going in blind. This one is coming out in September from Tortine. Then I have an arc that was sent to me from Orbit. This is The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. It is coming out on September 8th, and I'm really excited to get to this. I've been seeing some other people talk about it, and it looks really, really great. It is an Asian-inspired debut novel involving battling heirs and crumbling empires, and it says it's perfect for fans of The Poppy Wars and City of Brass, both of which I love, and it is own voices for the Asian representation. I also want to say the main character is queer, but I'm not entirely sure of that. Regardless, I'm excited for this one, so expect to see me reading it pretty soon. And the final physical arc that I have, I'm hoping to read it in September, but at the very latest I'll be reading it in October because it is releasing in November. And this is actually from a fellow YouTuber, Meg Latour from iWriterly. She is an author tuber, and we've met in person a couple of times, and I was thrilled when she reached out to me asking if I would be interested in reviewing her debut novel. It sounds right up my alley. This is The Cyborg Tinkerer, and this is gonna be fun. It's a sci-fi steampunk romance with a bisexual heroine, so I am here for it. Apparently it gets steamy, but also has lots of action and adventure. I think it's gonna be a really good time. Again, this one is self-published, coming out in November, so thank you so much to Meg for sending me a copy. And lastly, I'm gonna put a couple books on this TBR that I'm hoping to get to this month, and then we'll move on to all the e-arcs that I need to read for September. First up, I am hoping to read the Death of Vivian Og by Akwaeke Emezi. I was thinking I might try to get to this in August. I now doubt that that's going to happen. I have about a week left in the month, but I have lots of other things I need to read, so this is probably not going to happen this month. However, I am hoping to pick it up next month. I have never read anything by this author, but I hear amazing things about their work. They are a Black, non-binary author who writes adult literary fiction, but I hear that this one is a little bit more accessible than some of their previous books, and it is set in Nigeria. So I'm excited to give that one a try. If I can't get to it in August, I want to pick it up in September. And then I am also hoping to read Passing by Nella Larson. This is a classic of the Harlem Renaissance. This is about 3 Black women who are white passing, who were childhood friends, but as they grow up, 2 of them decide to live as white women, including getting married to men who don't know that they're Black, and one of them chooses to live as a Black woman, and it kind of follows what that means for them, which I think sounds really interesting. These are similar themes to what The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett is about. Actually, that would be interesting now that I'm thinking about it. I've been wanting to read The Vanishing Half as well, so it would be kind of interesting to see like a classic versus a modern take on these similar themes. Would that be a video you guys would be interested in seeing? Because if it would, let me know in the comments down below. I might do that. But I would like to read that sometime soon. And then finally, I have a whole bunch of e-arcs. Releasing on September 1st is Goldwings Rising by Alex London. This is the concluding volume in his YA queer fantasy trilogy that began with Black Wings Beating. I have loved this trilogy. I have 5-starred both of the other 2 books. The first one I think was one of my favorites the year it came out, and I reread it last year before the second book and loved it even more. So I'm really, really interested to see how this final volume goes. It follows siblings, and what's interesting about the series is that the central relationship, at least for book 1, is that sibling relationship. The brother is gay and in his own voices for the gay representation, and even though those words aren't used on the page, it becomes pretty clear that his sister is Aro Ace. So if you're looking for that kind of representation, I think also the world building is really interesting and unique, and I just kind of have loved the whole trilogy. So the final volume is coming out September 1st, and I do have an e-arc of it. I'm excited to pick it up. Also releasing September 1st is Wayward Witch by Zoraida Cordova. This is the final book in her Brooklyn Brujas trilogy. I have also really enjoyed both of the books in this series. Each book follows a different sister, and Zoraida's work is always enjoyable, so I'm looking forward to this one. Then, also on September 1st, a lot of things are, it's like everything is basically coming out in September, guys. That's what's happening. But we've got A Rogue of One's Own by Evie Dunmore. I own but have not read her debut novel. This is historical romance. I have heard amazing things about the first book. I am planning on reading the second book, hopefully before it comes out, but maybe not, maybe soon after, but I'm looking forward to this one. I hear the really good things about it. I know the first book dealt with women's suffrage, like suffragettes in history, but with a romance. Then another September 1st release is Sanctuary by Paula Mendoza. This is the debut novel from the co-creator of the Women's March. This one definitely sounds interesting. It says it's a near future dystopian where a young girl and her brother must escape a xenophobic government to find sanctuary. It's 2032, and in near future America, all citizens are chipped and everyone is tracked from buses to grocery stores, and it's almost impossible to survive as an undocumented immigrant, but that's exactly what 16-year-old Valley is doing. This sounds very interesting, certainly relevant to things that are going on right now. Then releasing September 15th is Never Look Back by Lilian Rivera. This is another YA novel. It features contemporary Afro-Latinx characters, and it says it blends a touch of magical realism into a timely story about cultural identity, overcoming trauma, and the power of first love. It follows a girl who travels from Puerto Rico to the Bronx and is being haunted by an evil spirit. Sounds interesting. Also releasing on September 15th is The Hellion by S.A. Hunt. This is the final book in the Malus Domestica trilogy. It is paranormal horror following a YouTuber who is a witch hunter and lots of other side characters. It tackles issues of racism and homophobia, among others, but is very gritty, so like use caution with the series, check trigger and content warnings. So the author is a trans woman who is also former US military, and one of the main characters in the series is a disabled veteran who deals with some PTSD. So a lot of really interesting themes being played with in the series, but it is quite intense on the horror side. Also releasing September 15th is The Roommate by Rosie Dannon. This I've heard a lot of buzz about. Apparently it's a good, steamy, new adult romance following a young woman from an elite family who has a new roommate, and it turns out he's a porn star. And yeah, so interesting premise. I'm hearing good things about it, so we'll see how that one goes. And then the final September 15th release is Orphan of Cemetery Hill by Hester Fox. I don't even know the premise of this one, but I don't need to. I have loved both of the other two books from Hester Fox that I've read. She writes really, really great atmospheric books that have a gothic feel to it with a heavy romance plot, but also some like spooky, creepy stuff. So definitely excited to read anything that she puts out at this point. Does this seem excessive? It does. Honestly, I didn't realize how many arcs I had requested that were coming out in September until like a few days ago, and I sat down and wrote it all out, and I was like, oh shoot, what did I do? Like, what did I do to myself? After September, I swear it's not that bad, and I'm gonna start actually like writing them down so I can like limit how many, but like, guys, it's a lot. Okay, we're not done. September 22nd is White Fox by Sarah Faring, and this one I actually am gonna try to read, or at least start reading, before the end of August. It is one of my most anticipated books of the year. Sarah Faring came out with The 10th Girl last year, which I loved. It was a little bit more hit and miss for people, and I think it had to do with the genre, but this one I think might work for more people. It's like a spooky YA mystery thriller with horror elements. It's got a haunted house and two sisters, and I don't really know, but I hear so many good things about it, and I'm very, very excited to read this book. So hoping to get to that one as soon as I can. I've got a couple other things I've got to finish first, but that is definitely a soon priority. Another very exciting one coming out September 22nd is Vampires Never Get Old. This one is edited by Zoraida Cordova and Natalie C. Parker. It is an anthology of short stories by YA authors involving vampires. It's gonna be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. It's got a great lineup of authors, including Samira Ahmed, Daniel Clayton, Tessa Gratton, Heidi Heilig, Julie Murphy, Marco Shiro, Rebecca Roanhorse, V.E. Schwab, and others. I think this one is going to be great. Also coming out on September 22nd is Well Played. This is the follow-up to Well Met, which was one of my favorite books last year. I've heard this one maybe not quite as good, but I'm still looking forward to reading it. These are contemporary romances set around a Renaissance fair, and so I'm hoping this one is going to be a good time. And the final one that I'll mention here is a Tor.com novella. This is Burning Roses by S.L. Huang, and it is a fairy tale novella that sort of retells Red Riding Hood with a very different spin on it. It looks beautiful, and I tend to love the Tor.com novellas, so I'm excited to check this one out as well. So there you have it. Those are all of the books on my September TBR. Am I going to be able to get to all of it? Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I definitely overdid it on the NetGalley, so I'm like not letting myself request anything else that's coming out in September, although I still have a couple of things that might be coming to me. So I'm going to do the best that I possibly can to get to these books in a timely manner, and then I'm going to start tracking what I have so that this doesn't happen again, because I may also be able to get to some of these before the end of the month. I do still have a little over a week left in August, so maybe I can get to a couple of these before the end of the month, but who knows. That said, talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts or feelings on anything I talked about in the video today. And for your question of the day, tell me about a book that you read and loved on the recommendation of somebody else. This comes to mind because I'm doing this project with Mara, picking books that she wants me to read, and I'm really curious to see how those books go. So tell me, what is the case of something that someone else recommended to you that you read and ended up being a huge fan of? Let me know in the comments down below. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.